The morning sun cast long shadows across the grounds of Kensington Palace as William stood by the window, watching the gardeners tend to the rose bushes below. His fingers traced the cold glass, and his mind wandered back to that fateful day when everything changed. The world had watched their love story unfold like a fairy tale, but nobody knew the weight of the moment that would soon arrive. Kate sat in the adjoining room, her hands folded in her lap, staring at the family photograph on the mantel. The children's laughter echoed from somewhere in the palace, but today even their joy couldn't lift the heaviness that had settled over their home. She remembered the doctor's words from 3 weeks ago, each syllable etched in her memory like a permanent scar. The news had come unexpectedly. What started as routine checkups had turned into a series of tests, consultations, and hushed conversations behind closed doors. William had been in the middle of a royal engagement when the call came through. His aide's face had gone pale as he whispered the message, and William knew immediately that life, as they knew it, was about to change forever. Their love story had begun so differently. William first noticed Kate at St. Andrews University during a charity fashion show. She had walked down the runway in a sheer dress, and something about her confidence and grace had captivated him instantly. But it wasn't just her beauty that drew him in. In the weeks that followed, they discovered a genuine friendship built on shared values, similar humor, and an understanding of the unique pressures that came with royal life. Kate had grown up in a loving middle-class family in Berkshire. Her parents, Michael and Carol Middleton, had built a successful party supplies business, providing their children with a comfortable upbringing and excellent education. She was athletic, intelligent, and possessed a natural warmth that made everyone around her feel at ease. These qualities would later prove invaluable in her role as a future queen. William, on the other hand, had grown up in the public eye. The tragic loss of his mother, Princess Diana, when he was just 15, had shaped him profoundly. He understood the price of fame and the weight of duty from a young age. In Kate, he found someone who could see past the titles and protocol to the person he really was. Their university years were filled with moments of normalcy that William treasured. They cooked meals together in their shared student house, went to local pubs with friends, and took long walks along the Scottish coastline. Kate never treated him differently because of his royal status, and this authenticity was what William had been searching for all his life. But their relationship wasn't without its challenges. The media attention was intense from the moment their romance became public. Photographers followed Kate's every move, camping outside her London flat and pursuing her to work. The pressure became so intense that William issued an unprecedented statement through the palace, asking for the media to respect Kate's privacy. They briefly separated in 2007, the strain of constant scrutiny and uncertainty about their future taking its toll. William wasn't ready to propose, and Kate needed to know where their relationship was heading. The breakup lasted only a few months, but it was enough for both of them to realize they couldn't imagine their lives without each other. When they reunited, their bond was stronger than ever. William knew he had found his life partner, someone who could handle the unique challenges of royal life while maintaining her own identity. He began planning the perfect proposal, carrying his mother's sapphire engagement ring with him on a trip to Kenya in October 2010. The proposal took place at a remote lodge on the slopes of Mount Kenya. As the African sun set over the landscape, William got down on one knee and asked Kate to marry him. Through happy tears, she said yes, knowing full well the life she was choosing. The ring, which had belonged to Diana, was William's way of including his late mother in their joy. Their wedding on April 29, 2011, was watched by millions around the world. Westminster Abbey was transformed into a floral wonderland, and Kate's Alexander McQueen dress became instantly iconic. But beyond the pomp and ceremony, those who were there noticed the genuine emotion between the couple. The way William whispered, "You look beautiful," when Kate reached the altar, how their hands found each other during the service, the private smiles they shared. The early years of their marriage were a careful balance of royal duties and building their private life together. They lived modestly by royal standards in a cottage on the Anglesey coast, while William worked as a search and rescue helicopter pilot. Kate learned to navigate royal protocol, taking on patronages and public engagements with growing confidence. The arrival of their children brought new joy and purpose to their lives. Prince George was born in July 2013, followed by Princess Charlotte in 2015 and Prince Louis in 2018. William and Kate were determined to give their children as normal an upbringing as possible within the constraints of royal life. They did school runs, attended sports days, and had family movie nights. Kate flourished in her role as a mother and future queen consort. She launched initiatives focusing on early childhood development, mental health, and supporting families. Her natural empathy and genuine interest in people made her beloved by the public. William often spoke proudly of how Kate had transformed the monarchy's approach to connecting with people. Their partnership extended beyond their personal life into their royal work. They complemented each other perfectly during public engagements. William's occasional stiffness was softened by Kate's warmth, while her initial shyness was bolstered by his confidence. They developed a secret language of subtle touches and glances that helped them navigate challenging situations. As the years passed, they faced various trials together. The constant media scrutiny never fully abated, and they had to shield their children from its worst excesses. There were family tensions, particularly surrounding Harry and Meghan's departure from royal duties. Through it all, William and Kate presented a united front, their bond seemingly unshakable. The COVID-19 pandemic had shown another side of their partnership. They adapted quickly to virtual engagements, homeschooling their children, and finding ways to support frontline workers and vulnerable communities. Kate's photography project, capturing the lockdown experience, and William's environmental initiatives showed their commitment to using their platform for good. But now, as William turned away from the window, all those memories seemed both precious and painful. The diagnosis had come like a thunderbolt from a clear sky. The doctors had been thorough in their explanations, outlining treatment options and prognosis, but the fundamental truth remained unchanged. Time, which had always seemed infinite when you're young and in love, suddenly felt terrifyingly finite. Kate appeared in the doorway, and their eyes met. 20 years of shared history passed between them in that glance. Without words, she crossed the room and took his hand. They had faced everything together, and they would face this too. But the knowledge of what lay ahead made every moment more poignant. The palace had been working overtime to manage the situation. Statements were being prepared, arrangements made, and protocols followed. But for William and Kate, all of that felt distant and unimportant compared to the reality of their situation. They had always known their lives belonged partly to the public, but this felt too personal, too raw to share. That evening, they gathered their children for a family dinner. George, now a thoughtful teenager, seemed to sense something was amiss. Charlotte chattered about her day at school, while Louis performed his latest magic trick. William and Kate exchanged glances across the table, both thinking the same thing. How do you prepare those you love most for unimaginable loss? Later, after the children were in bed, they sat together in their private sitting room. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Photos from their life together surrounded them. Their wedding day, the children's christenings, family holidays, official portraits. Each image was a reminder of the life they had built together. Kate spoke first, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. She talked about her wishes for the children, the causes she hoped would continue, the legacy she wanted to leave. William listened, his hand never leaving hers, occasionally wiping away tears that escaped despite his efforts to remain strong. They talked through the night, sharing memories, fears, and hopes. They laughed about their early dating disasters, cried about the thought of missing milestones, and made promises about the future. As dawn broke, they were still there, holding each other, trying to memorize every detail. The coming days would bring official announcements and public appearances. The world would watch as they navigated this challenge with the dignity and grace expected of them. But in that moment, they were just William and Kate, two people who had found extraordinary love in an extraordinary life, facing the most ordinary and devastating of human experiences. The sun rose fully now, painting the room in golden light. A new day had begun, and with it, the next chapter of their story. Whatever came next, they would face it as they had faced everything else together, with love, courage, and an unbreakable bond that had already inspired millions and would continue to do so in ways they couldn't yet imagine. Their love story had captured the world's imagination from the beginning. Now, as they faced their greatest challenge, that same world would witness a different kind of fairy tale, one that dealt not with happily ever after, but with the profound beauty of human connection in the face of life's ultimate test. The announcement came on a gray Thursday morning. The palace press office released the statement at precisely 8 a.m., and within minutes, the news had spread across every major news outlet in the world. The carefully worded message spoke of a serious health condition, ongoing treatment, and a request for privacy during this difficult time. Behind those formal words lay a reality that William and Kate had been grappling with for weeks. The public response was immediate and overwhelming. Flowers began arriving at palace gates across the country. Letters poured in from well-wishers around the globe. Social media filled with messages of support, shared memories, and prayers. The outpouring of love was a testament to how deeply William and Kate had touched people's lives over the years. Inside the palace, life took on a strange duality. There were the medical appointments, carefully scheduled to avoid media attention. Doctors came and went, their faces professionally neutral, but their eyes betraying the gravity of the situation. Treatment plans were discussed, adjusted, and implemented. The best medical minds in the country were consulted, no avenue left unexplored. At the same time, William and Kate were determined to maintain as much normalcy as possible for their children. School runs continued, bedtime stories were read, and weekend activities were planned. They had agreed that the children's lives should be disrupted as little as possible, that childhood memories shouldn't be overshadowed entirely by illness. George, old enough to understand the situation, stepped up in ways that made his parents proud and broke their hearts in equal measure. He helped with his younger siblings without being asked, his natural leadership qualities emerging. Charlotte, always perceptive, became even more attentive to her mother, often curling up beside her with a book or drawing. Louis, still young enough to be shielded from the full truth, continued to bring laughter to the household with his endless energy and innocent observations. The treatment process was grueling. Early morning hospital visits were followed by days of exhaustion. Kate faced each challenge with remarkable strength, but William saw the toll it took. He rearranged his entire schedule to be present for every appointment, every treatment session. His royal duties were delegated or postponed. Nothing mattered more than being there. On the difficult days, when the side effects were overwhelming, William would sit beside Kate's bed, reading to her from her favorite books or simply holding her hand in silence. They had developed a routine of watching old comedies together, finding that laughter truly was medicinal. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, when sleep eluded them both, they would walk through the palace gardens, the cool air providing relief and the darkness offering privacy. Their families rallied around them. The king and Queen Camilla provided steady support, taking on additional royal duties without complaint. Kate's parents became fixtures at the palace, Carol Middleton bringing homemade meals and that special brand of maternal comfort that never stops being needed, no matter how old one gets. Siblings on both sides stepped up, creating a protective circle around the family. One particularly poignant moment came during a routine treatment session. A young girl, also receiving treatment, recognized Kate despite the circumstances. The child's face lit up, and she shyly approached. Kate, though exhausted, spent time talking with the girl about her favorite Disney princess and her drawings. William watched this interaction, marveling at Kate's ability to give of herself even when she had so little energy to spare. The media, for once, showed remarkable restraint. Perhaps it was the memory of how things had been handled with Diana, or maybe it was genuine respect for the couple who had given so much of themselves to public service. Whatever the reason, the press maintained a respectful distance, focusing on facts rather than speculation. As autumn turned to winter, there were good days and bad days. The good days were celebrated with simple pleasures, a successful treatment milestone, a family game night, a walk in the park with the dogs. The bad days were endured with the strength that comes from facing hardship together. William became an expert at reading Kate's needs without words being exchanged, knowing when she needed space and when she needed closeness. One evening, as snow began to fall outside, Kate suggested they work on their annual Christmas card photo. William initially resisted, worried it would be too taxing, but Kate insisted. She wanted to maintain traditions, to create memories, to show the children that life goes on even in difficult times. The photographer captured a moment of genuine joy as Lewis made everyone laugh with an impromptu dance. Looking at the images later, no one would guess the challenge they were facing. The holidays approached with bittersweetness. Every tradition took on added significance. The family decorated the Christmas tree together, each ornament holding memories. Kate made sure to write individual letters to each child, to be saved for future Christmases. She spent hours working on photo albums, organizing years of memories into beautiful books that told their family story. Christmas morning was magical despite everything. The children's excitement was infectious, and for a few hours the house was filled with nothing but joy and wrapping paper. William caught Kate's eye across the room as Lewis showed off his new toys, and they shared a smile that said everything: gratitude for the moment, sadness for uncertainty, love that transcended circumstances. As the new year began, there was a shift in Kate's condition. The treatments were showing some positive effects, offering a glimmer of hope. The medical team was cautiously optimistic, though they stressed the long road still ahead. This news brought renewed energy to the household. William allowed himself to hope, something he had been afraid to do. Kate began working on legacy projects with renewed vigor. Her early childhood development initiative received detailed plans for the next decade. She recorded videos for future milestones: birthdays, graduations, weddings. These sessions were emotional but cathartic, ensuring her voice and guidance would always be present for her family. One particularly meaningful project was a series of letters she wrote to each child, to be opened at different stages of their lives. She poured her heart into these letters, sharing wisdom, love, and the values she hoped they would carry forward. William helped, adding his own thoughts, creating a tangible legacy of their united parenting approach. The public engagements that Kate could manage took on special significance. Each appearance was carefully planned to conserve energy while maximizing impact. She chose events that aligned with her passions: children's hospices, family support centers, mental health initiatives. The people she met during these engagements often commented on her genuine warmth and how she made each person feel seen and heard. William's admiration for his wife grew even deeper during this time. He watched her transform personal struggle into purpose, using her platform to raise awareness and support for others facing similar challenges. She spoke candidly about the importance of early detection, the value of support systems, and the need for continued research funding. Her honesty and vulnerability resonated with people in ways that perfectly crafted speeches never could. Spring arrived with its promise of renewal. The palace gardens bloomed with daffodils and tulips, and the family spent more time outdoors. There were picnics on the lawn, tennis matches that ended in laughter more than keeping score, and quiet moments watching the children play. These simple family times became treasured memories, each one carefully stored away. The children's school events took on added importance. Kate attended every concert, sports day, and parent-teacher conference she could manage. She volunteered for reading time in Lewis's class, helped with Charlotte's science project, and proudly watched George's cricket matches. Other parents, aware of her situation, were moved by her determination to be present for these ordinary but precious moments. One afternoon, while sorting through old photos for a palace exhibition, Kate and William came across pictures from their university days. They laughed at their younger selves, so carefree and unaware of what lay ahead. Kate remarked on how she wouldn't change anything, even knowing what they would face. The journey had brought them 3 beautiful children and a love that had only grown stronger through trials. The royal family's annual summer gathering at Balmoral was approached with some trepidation. The Scottish Highlands held so many memories, and the physical demands of the traditional activities seemed daunting. But Kate was determined to go, to give the children their normal summer experience. Accommodations were quietly made, shorter walks, more rest periods, but the essence of the family holiday remained intact. During their stay in Scotland, there was an evening when the whole family gathered for a traditional Scottish dance. Kate, despite her fatigue, joined in. Watching her laugh as William spun her around, seeing the children's delight at their parents' participation, everyone present felt the poignancy of the moment. It was life being lived fully despite the shadows. As summer waned, there was another shift in Kate's condition. The latest test results brought mixed news, some positive indicators, but also new challenges to face. The medical team adjusted treatment plans, and the family adapted once again. William and Kate had become experts at finding silver linings, at celebrating small victories while preparing for setbacks. Throughout this journey, their faith had been a quiet but steady presence. Private services were held in the palace chapel, offering moments of reflection and peace. The chaplain became a regular visitor, providing spiritual support that complemented the medical care. Prayer became a family activity, the children adding their own innocent petitions that often brought tears to the adults' eyes. The strength of their partnership continued to inspire those around them. Staff members, some of whom had served the royal family for decades, spoke privately of never having witnessed such devotion. The way William anticipated Kate's needs, how Kate continued to support William's mental health despite her own challenges, set an example of what true partnership meant. As autumn returned, marking a full year since the diagnosis, there was time for reflection. So much had changed, yet in fundamental ways, nothing had. Their love remained the cornerstone, their children the priority, their duty to serve still strong. They had learned that strength wasn't about facing challenges without fear, but about facing them together despite the fear. The state visit from the Japanese emperor was to be Kate's first major ceremonial appearance in months. The palace staff worked meticulously to ensure everything would run smoothly while accommodating her needs. William watched Kate prepare that morning, applying her makeup with steady hands despite the fatigue he knew she felt. Her determination to fulfill her royal duty, to show strength for the country, filled him with both pride and concern. The evening was a triumph. Kate, resplendent in a burgundy velvet gown and the lover's knot tiara that had been Diana's favorite, moved through the state banquet with grace. Cameras captured her animated conversation with the emperor, her warm interactions with guests, the supportive touches William provided throughout the evening. No one watching would have known the effort each smile cost, the careful energy management required to last through the toasts and conversations. Behind closed doors afterward, the cost was evident. William helped Kate remove the heavy tiara and jewelry, massaging her temples where the headpiece had pressed. They sat together in comfortable silence, both understanding that such evenings were becoming more difficult to navigate. Yet Kate spoke of the importance of the visit, of maintaining diplomatic relationships, of showing that the monarchy continued to serve regardless of personal circumstances. The children had watched portions of the state visit on television, George particularly interested in the ceremonial aspects he would one day inherit. That weekend, they recreated their own version of a state banquet in the nursery, with Louis as a visiting king from the land of dinosaurs. Kate and William joined in, using paper crowns and toy jewelry, finding joy in their children's innocent interpretation of royal life. As winter deepened, a new treatment protocol was introduced. It came with hope, but also uncertainty. The medical team explained the potential benefits and risks with careful precision. William took detailed notes, asked countless questions, and researched late into the night. Kate approached it with her characteristic calm, focusing on the possibility of positive outcomes rather than dwelling on potential setbacks. The treatment required extended hospital stays, something they had hoped to avoid. The palace apartment was reorganized to create a more medical-friendly environment for recovery periods. The children's routine was adjusted to ensure they could visit regularly without disruption to their schooling. Everyone adapted, as families do when faced with challenges that rewrite normal life. During one hospital stay, Kate received an unexpected visitor. A former university classmate, now a renowned researcher in her field of expertise, came to share news of a breakthrough that might have applications for Kate's condition. The reunion was bittersweet. Two accomplished women whose lives had taken very different paths since their carefree student days. They spent hours talking, not just about medical possibilities, but about life, dreams, and the strange turns fate can take. William maintained a vigil during these hospital stays, working on his royal papers from a chair beside Kate's bed. He became a familiar figure to the medical staff, who were impressed by his dedication and his ability to brighten Kate's spirits. He would read her funny emails from friends, share videos of the children, and occasionally sneak in her favorite treats when the doctors weren't looking. One particularly difficult night, when treatment side effects were at their worst, Kate asked William to tell her the story of how they fell in love again. He obliged, embellishing details to make her laugh, reminding her of forgotten moments, painting a picture of their journey that emphasized joy over hardship. By dawn, they had laughed and cried through 2 decades of memories, finding strength in their shared history. The children's resilience continued to amaze everyone. George had started mentoring younger students at school, channeling his emotions into helping others. Charlotte had become passionate about art therapy, spending hours creating beautiful paintings that decorated Kate's hospital room. Louis, with the adaptability of youth, simply accepted that sometimes Mummy needed extra rest and extra hugs, providing both generously. Spring's arrival brought a surge of energy to Kate. Whether it was the new treatment or simply the psychological boost of longer days and blooming flowers, she felt more like herself than she had in months. The family spent Easter at their country home, enjoying simple pleasures, egg hunts in the garden, Sunday service at the local church, long lunches with extended family. During this period of relative wellness, Kate threw herself into planning for the future. She worked with her team to create detailed succession plans for her patronages, ensuring continuity of leadership. She recorded messages for future events she might miss, determined that her causes would not suffer from her absence. William marveled at her foresight and selflessness, even as it broke his heart to acknowledge why such planning was necessary. A particularly special project was the creation of a garden at their country home. Kate designed it herself, choosing plants that would bloom at different times throughout the year, ensuring beauty in every season. The children helped with planting, each choosing special additions. It was meant to be a living memorial, a place of peace and remembrance that would grow and change with time, just as their love had. The garden's dedication was a private family affair. They planted a tree together, each member of the family adding soil to the roots. Kate spoke about the symbolism, roots that run deep, branches that reach toward the sky, the cycles of growth and renewal. William added his thoughts about strength through seasons of change. The children contributed their own observations, Louis declaring it the best climbing tree ever, which made everyone laugh through their tears. That summer, Kate insisted on taking the children on a special holiday. Despite medical advice suggesting a location closer to home, she was determined to show them the Scottish islands she had loved since childhood. The trip was carefully planned with medical contingencies, but once there, it felt almost normal. They explored beaches, spotted wildlife, and spent evenings playing board games in a cozy cottage. One evening on the island, as the sun set over the Atlantic, Kate and William walked along the cliff tops while the children played on the beach below with their protection officers. The beauty of the moment, the painted sky, The crash of waves, their children's laughter carrying on the wind, was almost painful in its perfection. They stood together, not needing words, both acutely aware of the preciousness of such moments. The return to London brought new challenges. Test results showed the treatment's effectiveness was waning. The medical team presented new options, some experimental, all with uncertain outcomes. The discussions were frank and difficult. Quality of life versus quantity became a central consideration. Kate and William spent long nights weighing options, always returning to the same priority: what was best for their children. During this time, an unexpected source of support emerged. Letters from other families facing similar challenges poured in, sharing their stories, offering practical advice, creating a community of understanding. Kate insisted on reading many personally, often writing back when energy allowed. These connections provided comfort and perspective, reminding them they weren't alone in their journey. The palace announced a reduced schedule of engagements for the autumn. The public response was understanding and supportive, rather than disappointment. There was an outpouring of gratitude for all the years of service already given. Messages of support decorated the palace gates daily, a visual reminder of the impact William and Kate had made. One engagement Kate refused to miss was the opening of a new children's hospice she had championed. The project had been years in the making, and she was determined to see it through. The visit was carefully managed, shorter than originally planned, with rest breaks built in, but Kate's presence meant everything to the families who would benefit from the facility. At the opening, Kate gave a speech that would be remembered as one of her most powerful. She spoke about the strength found in vulnerability, the importance of support systems, and the way challenges could deepen our capacity for love and compassion. Her words, clearly personal yet universally applicable, moved many to tears. William stood beside her, his pride evident, his hand ready to steady her if needed. The children attended the hospice opening, their first major public engagement in months. They had been carefully prepared, understanding they were representing not just their parents, but all families facing difficulties. George cut the ribbon with solemn concentration. Charlotte presented flowers to staff members, and Louis charmed everyone by insisting on showing the other children his latest magic trick. As autumn progressed, there were more good days than bad. Kate's spirit remained indomitable, her focus on others never wavering. She continued her work from home when possible, conducting video calls with her patronages, reviewing proposals, offering guidance. Her team marveled at her ability to compartmentalize, to give full attention to others' needs despite her own challenges. Halloween brought unexpected joy. Kate had always loved creating costumes for the children, and this year was no exception. Despite William's protest that she should rest, she spent days crafting elaborate outfits. The delight on the children's faces when they saw their costumes made every moment of effort worthwhile. They went trick-or-treating in the palace grounds, with staff members gamely pretending surprise at each door. November brought the family's attendance at the Remembrance Sunday service. Kate's presence was uncertain until the last moment, but she was determined to honor the fallen. Dressed in black, wearing her poppy with pride, she stood tall beside William throughout the ceremony. The physical toll was evident to those who looked closely, but her dignity never wavered. That evening, as they reviewed photos from the day, Kate pointed out how grown-up George looked in his first official Remembrance appearance. They talked about the future, about the responsibilities their son would one day carry. The conversation was matter-of-fact rather than maudlin, focused on preparing him for his destiny while preserving his childhood as long as possible. The approach of Christmas brought mixed emotions. There was joy in maintaining traditions, sadness and uncertainty about future holidays. Kate approached the season with determination to make it special. She involved the children more than ever in preparations, baking cookies for palace staff, choosing gifts for charity donations, writing cards to supporters who had sent particularly touching messages. One December evening, as snow fell softly outside, the family gathered for their annual viewing of Christmas movies. Kate sat surrounded by her children, William's arm around her shoulders, perfectly content in the moment. Louis had fallen asleep in her lap, Charlotte was braiding her hair, and George was explaining the historical inaccuracies in the film. It was ordinarily extraordinary, precious in its simplicity. As the year drew to a close, Kate and William reflected on the journey they had traveled. There had been moments of despair and moments of hope, times of struggle and times of grace. Through it all, their love had been the constant, growing deeper and stronger through shared adversity. They had learned that courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the decision to continue despite it. The future remained uncertain, medical prognosis carefully hopeful, but honest about challenges ahead. In the face of this uncertainty, William and Kate had found a way to live fully in the present. Each day was approached as a gift, each moment with their children treasured, each opportunity to serve seized. They had discovered that even in the darkest times, love could illuminate a path forward. The new year began with cautious optimism. Kate's latest treatment had shown promising early results, and the medical team spoke carefully of remission possibilities. William allowed hope to creep back into his heart, though he remained guarded. They had learned to take each piece of news as it came, celebrating victories without assuming permanence. Kate marked the improvement by increasing her activities gradually. She began taking morning walks in Hyde Park, initially just to the nearest bench, then gradually extending the distance. William or her protection officers always accompanied her, but she treasured these moments of normalcy, breathing fresh air, watching dogs play, exchanging pleasantries with regular park visitors who respectfully pretended not to recognize her. The children responded to their mother's increased energy with unbridled joy. Family game nights became more frequent, with Kate able to participate fully rather than watching from the sofa. She helped with homework, attended school plays, and even managed a few tennis games with George, though at a much gentler pace than their pre-diagnosis matches. One particularly meaningful moment came when Kate felt strong enough to cook Sunday dinner for the family. It was something she had always enjoyed but hadn't managed in months. The children helped, creating chaos in the kitchen that would have stressed the palace chef, but delighted Kate. The meal itself was simple, roast chicken with vegetables, but the act of providing this basic nurture for her family filled Kate with profound satisfaction. William watched these improvements with a mixture of joy and fear. Each good day was treasured, but he couldn't shake the knowledge of how quickly things could change. He found himself memorizing moments. The way Kate laughed at Lewis's jokes, how she tucked her hair behind her ear when concentrating on Charlotte's math problems, the pride in her eyes when George showed maturity beyond his years. The palace began planning for Kate to resume a modified schedule of engagements. Each event was carefully chosen for maximum impact with minimum physical demand. Her first major appearance was at a conference on early childhood development, a cause that remained closest to her heart. She spent weeks preparing, determined that her message wouldn't be overshadowed by speculation about her health. The conference was a triumph. Kate spoke passionately about the critical importance of the first 5 years of life, weaving in personal anecdotes that resonated with the audience. She participated in panel discussions, met with researchers, and spent time with families benefiting from early intervention programs. The energy such engagement required was enormous, but the purpose it provided was equally powerful. Following the success, requests poured in for Kate's participation in various events. She and her team carefully selected those that aligned with her core missions and physical capabilities. Each appearance was meaningful, whether visiting a children's hospital, opening a mental health facility, or supporting military families. The public responded with overwhelming warmth, understanding that every engagement was a gift. Spring brought a special celebration, Kate and William's wedding anniversary. They marked it quietly with a private dinner and a walk through the gardens where they had spent so many hours during treatment. They talked about their wedding day, laughing about the nerves, the pageantry, and how young they had been. The conversation naturally turned to all they had weathered since. The way's hardship had deepened their bond. That evening, they danced in their sitting room to their wedding song, no audience except the moon through the window. William whispered promises of more anniversaries to come, and Kate chose to believe him. They had learned that hope was not naive, but necessary, that planning for a future was an act of faith that made the present more bearable. The children were thriving despite the ongoing uncertainty. George had developed a protective streak, often checking on his mother without being asked, bringing her tea or a blanket. Charlotte channeled her emotions into creative pursuits, her art becoming more sophisticated and expressive. Louis remained irrepressibly himself, his joy infectious, his hugs healing in ways medicine couldn't match. Kate decided to create memory books for each child, filled with photos, stories, and lessons learned. She spent hours selecting images that captured not just milestones, but everyday moments, bedtime stories, kitchen disasters, garden adventures. Alongside each photo, she wrote notes about what she remembered, what she hoped they would remember, and the love that surrounded each moment. One sunny afternoon, while working on these books, Kate called each child individually for special time. With George, she talked about responsibility and kindness, about the unique position he was born into and how to use it for good. With Charlotte, she discussed the power of creativity and compassion, the importance of staying true to herself. With Louis, still young, she simply played and laughed, storing up the sound of his giggles. Summer arrived with plans for a special project. Kate wanted to create a documentary about early childhood development, using her platform to reach parents who might not otherwise access resources. The filming schedule was adapted to her energy levels, but her passion for the subject shone through every frame. William participated too, sharing his perspective as a father and future king on the importance of nurturing the next generation. During filming, there was a moment when Kate interviewed a young mother struggling with postnatal depression. The woman broke down, ashamed of her feelings. Kate reached across, took her hands, and shared her own struggles with the isolation and pressure of early motherhood. The moment was unscripted, genuine, and powerful. The crew watched in silent awe as two mothers, from vastly different circumstances, connected over universal experiences. The documentary's completion coincided with a downturn in Kate's health. The respite had been longer than expected, but the return of symptoms hit hard. New scans showed progression, and the medical team had to adjust their approach once again. The news came on a beautiful summer day, the contrast between the perfect weather and devastating information particularly cruel. William and Kate absorbed the news privately before facing the implications. There were new treatments to consider, each with its own risks and limited promises. They consulted with specialists worldwide, explored cutting-edge therapies, and ultimately made decisions based on what would give Kate the best quality of life for whatever time remained. The children sensed the shift in household mood despite efforts to shield them. George, now old enough to read subtle cues, asked direct questions that deserved honest answers. Kate and William navigated these conversations carefully, providing age-appropriate information while maintaining hope. They emphasized that doctors were doing everything possible, that each day together was precious, and that their family's love was unchangeable. As autumn approached, Kate expressed a wish to visit each of her major patronages one more time. William initially resisted, worried about the physical toll, but Kate's determination won. These visits weren't publicized as farewells, but those present sensed their significance. Kate spent time with staff members who had become friends, thanked volunteers whose dedication inspired her, and ensured each organization knew how much their work meant. One particularly emotional visit was to a children's hospice where Kate had spent countless hours over the years. She knew many of the families had watched some children grow and had grieved with parents who had lost little ones. This time, she sat with a mother whose daughter was nearing the end, offering no platitudes, but genuine understanding. They cried together, two mothers facing the unthinkable, finding comfort in shared humanity. The documentary premiered to critical acclaim and public appreciation. Watching it, William was struck by Kate's legacy, not just in the causes she championed, but in the way she approached them. Her genuine interest in people, her ability to make everyone feel valued, her dedication to using privilege for purpose. These qualities, captured on film, would inspire long after she was gone. Halloween came again, and despite her weakness, Kate insisted on maintaining traditions. This year, the children helped make their own costumes, understanding their mother needed to conserve energy. The result was charmingly imperfect. George's robot had cardboard showing, Charlotte's fairy wings were slightly lopsided, and Louis's dinosaur tail dragged comically behind him. Kate declared them the best costumes yet, and meant it. November brought difficult decisions about upcoming holidays. Travel was becoming increasingly challenging, and the medical team recommended staying close to specialized care. The extended family adjusted plans without complaint, arranging to come to them instead. Kate felt guilty about the disruption until Carol took her face in her hands and reminded her that family meant being together, wherever that might be. The children's Christmas lists that year were notably different. Alongside toys and games were requests for family time, movie nights with Mummy, cooking lessons with both parents, stories about when they were babies. George had written privately to Father Christmas, asking for his mother to get better. When William found the letter, he wept in his study, then composed himself and helped George post it, maintaining the magic while his heart broke. Kate approached Christmas preparations with fierce determination. She organized carol services at the palace, invited families from her patronages, and ensured every detail reflected warmth and inclusion. She supervised decoration of the family quarters, each room reflecting memories and hopes. The strength such activity required was immense, but the joy on her children's faces made every effort worthwhile. One quiet evening, as December snow fell, Kate and William sat watching their children decorate cookies. Kate leaned against William, her hand in his, and spoke about her gratitude, not despite their circumstances, but because of how those circumstances had revealed the depth of love surrounding them. She talked about the privilege of watching their children grow, the honor of serving others, the gift of their partnership. William struggled to respond, emotions threatening to overwhelm him. Kate understood, squeezing his hand, letting silence say what words couldn't. They sat together, watching their children create messy masterpieces, feeling the weight of finite time and infinite love. These moments, Kate had taught him, were where life's true meaning resided. As the holidays approached, the palace was filled with bittersweet preparations. Cards were sent, gifts wrapped, traditions honored. But underlying the festive atmosphere was an awareness that this Christmas was particularly precious. Photos from the season would be studied in years to come, every smile analyzed, every gesture memorized. The extended family gathered, creating a warm chaos that filled the palace with life. Kate presided over it all from her favorite chair, sometimes participating actively, sometimes simply observing with contentment. She watched William's cousins play with their children, saw the next generation forming bonds, and felt peace knowing the family would endure and support each other. One night, after the children were asleep, Kate gave William a special gift, a collection of letters for future occasions. His birthdays, their anniversaries, the children's milestones. She had spent months writing them, pouring her love and wisdom onto paper, ensuring her voice would be present for moments she might miss. William couldn't speak, holding her as they both cried, understanding the profound love such foresight represented. Christmas Eve brought a special service in the palace chapel. Kate had requested favorite hymns, readings that held personal meaning. Watching their children participate, George reading beautifully, Charlotte singing in the choir, Louis carefully carrying candles. She felt profound completion. This was legacy, faith passed down, traditions maintained, love multiplying through generations. That night, after stockings were filled and final preparations made, William and Kate stood in their children's doorways, watching them sleep. The innocence of their slumber, the excitement for morning, the normalcy of childhood anticipation. It was almost too beautiful to bear. They held each other in the hallway. No words needed, hearts full of gratitude and grief intertwined. Christmas morning dawned crisp and bright. The children burst into their parents' room at dawn, dragging them to see what Father Christmas had brought. The joy was infectious, momentarily pushing aside all other concerns. They opened presents together, played with new toys, and had a leisurely breakfast in their pajamas. It was perfect in its imperfection, precious in its ordinariness. Later, as extended family arrived for lunch, Kate found energy she didn't know she possessed. She moved through the day with grace, ensuring everyone felt welcomed, traditions were honored, memories were made. Photos from that day would show a woman radiant with purpose, surrounded by those she loved most, fully present despite the effort required.